So now that we've loaded up our tracks, it's time to look at the transport section, which is the 16 buttons at the bottom of the controller. Like all the other buttons on the X1, these also have primary and secondary functions. There are 8 buttons per deck with identical functions on each side. Play is for beginning playback of the corresponding deck. Sync activates the sync function of the corresponding deck. The QREL button. In Traktor's internal playback mode, this sets a temporary cue point and the button will light up to indicate that a cue point has been set. Now if you press the button again, the track will return to that cue point and playback will stop. So if we hit play, we stop where we want to drop a temporary cue point, hit the QREL button, press play again, hit QREL, and it returns to that cue point. Now once the deck is stopped at the temporary cue point, you simply push the button and the track will play for as long as you keep the button held. You can also use this button for dropping in maybe short loops or vocals or samples into your mix as well. If you're going to try this, you can easily switch from the QREL mode into play mode by pressing play at the same time. So if I hold down QREL, I've got my cue, and then just hit play to swap into play mode. The cup abs button, which is to the right of the QREL button, again in Traktor's internal playback mode, this functions the same as QREL but will start playback from the last temporary cue point instead of stopping playback. So let's hit play. We'll set a marker there, and you can see instead of stopping playback, when it goes back to the marker, it begins playback right from that where we've dropped the marker. On top of these buttons we have beat buttons which move the current playback position left or right by 1 beat. So that's it, moving back a beat and moving forward. Now we can look at the secondary functions of each of these buttons. To access these, again you hold down the shift key. So at the bottom we have key, which activates the Traktor key lock function for the corresponding deck. So we can switch that on or we can switch it off. Tap beside that. This allows you to tap in the tempo for guiding Traktor's auto grid function in a loaded deck. We also have 2 cue buttons. The cue button on the left will force Traktor's deck back to the beginning of the currently loaded track. So if I hold down shift and hit that, we'll return right to the start of the track. The cue button on the right, this can be used to skip through any saved cue points in the track. So we can skip through these cue points I saved earlier. As simple as that. And then back to the start with QREL. I'll show you how to set up all these cue points in another tutorial later on. The next 2 buttons activate the corresponding deck's pitch bend, which temporarily speeds up or slows down the track. Again, holding down shift. You can see the BPM increasing slightly and decreasing slightly. The final 2 buttons are for manually increasing or decreasing the tempo of the corresponding deck. So we can go all the way up and all the way down. Just remember, to access all these secondary functions you do need to keep the shift button pressed down. There you go. In the next video we'll be looking at looping with the X1.